Assalamualaikum. Hi everyone. We are now moved to the new chapter. It is chapter 11, and this is about pricing with market power. Now, when we talk about pricing with market power, why it has to be with market power? Okay, because if we talk about pricing without market power, that means we're talking about pure competitive market. In pure competitive market, we don't have to talk about pricing that much in terms of determination because it is determined by market forces, uh, and that means it's about the forces between demand and supply in the market. Okay, but when it comes to market power, any market or industry other than pure competitive market, they have what we call market power. They have power to dictate or manipulate the price as long as they can maximize profit. But of course, it also depends on the consumer side in terms of their elasticity after the market, after the firm changes or manipulate the price. Okay. So the effectiveness of pricing with market power also depends on the consumer side. But still, the industry players, especially the firms, can, manipulate the price. Now, before we go into detail about how these firms in different types of industry which have market power determine the price, how to determine, they must understand the characteristic of consumer, especially consumer surplus. So they need to understand in detail about consumer surplus. What does it mean by consumer surplus? How we can use this information to help them in terms of pricing strategy. Okay, so let's look at the this thing, capturing consumer surplus. Now, we will use a graph to explain this, but what does it mean by consumer surplus? If you recall back the study in the intermediate micro one, yeah, if I draw the demand curve, okay, price here, on horizontal it's quantity, then we know the demand curve is downsloping like this. Let's say market price is here. Okay, let's say market price is here. P star, yeah, and quantity in the market is this. So consumer surplus is this triangle, isn't it? That's what you understand. But then if we have market power in the industry, let's say we take one example of market, okay, monopoly, okay, and everybody knows that monopoly has a certain power to dictate the price or manipulate the price. So how does a monopoly firm capture consumer surplus? This can be explained using, graph here. So let's say we have a frame of diagram here. Price is on the vertical axis, quantity is on the horizontal axis. So we draw as usual the demand curve for monopoly industry. And in monopoly industry, everybody knows that we only have one single seller. So this one single seller but many buyers, and this is the because it's just one single seller, even if one single seller, it is considered as a market. Now, this is the demand curve, also known as average revenue curve, also known as price curve. Why? Because this is where the price is determined in it. Now, because the demand curve faced by the monopoly firm is downsloping, so we could draw the marginal revenue downward sloping as usual. Okay, so this is marginal revenue. Marginal revenue has to be below the demand curve. Make sure you, by now, you understand the concept of marginal revenue below the demand curve. Okay, now for this firm to determine the price, let's assume that this firm follow the profit maximizing rule. So we have MR, we need to have another curve here, which is marginal cost curve. Okay, so this is marginal cost curve. To maximize profit, okay, then we have MR equal to MC at small letter point A here. How to determine the price? It has to be on the price curve or demand curve. So it is here. Okay. And let's call this price is P star. Where is the quantity sold in the market? It is at Q star. Okay. So if the monopoly charges price at P star and sell quantity at Q star, so where is the consumer surplus? Go back to the concept of consumer surplus. It is the area under the demand curve and also above the price, price in the market. So price in the market is P star, demand curve is this one, isn't it? So what does it mean? If I use different pen here, let's say red pen, so this is the area, isn't it? This is a triangle. Okay, so that's the consumer surplus in region, let's say region A here. Okay, so any area below region A and also P star, that's consumer surplus. Okay, mathematically you should know how to find this area, yeah, because this is just simple triangle. Okay, now, so in this case, a firm can only charge one single price, isn't it? And then can only capture this much of consumer surplus. However, we understand that there are some, consumers who has, who is willing to pay below the market price. Let's say here, P1 for instance, yeah? Okay. So in this case, he won't be able to purchase, isn't it? Okay. Those who have, reservation price higher than P star, they are able to purchase it. That's why they earn consumer surplus. But those who are not willing to pay at P star, then they cannot, get the product. Okay. Now, in this case, all right, then because you're the only single seller or you have market power in this case, yeah, if you want to capture the consumer surplus of the person who is willing to pay P1, you see here, P1, if I use different pen, blue pen, the consumer surplus will be this much, isn't it? Okay, this much. Okay. However, because you're not selling it, so you are not capturing that consumer surplus. Okay. Only to that consumer, not to the previous consumer that are willing to pay higher than P1. Only to those to that consumer. So how do you do it? That's why we have what we call price discrimination. Okay. So when we talk about price discrimination here, it means different person receive different price level. Okay. Different person pays different price. Okay. So when we talk about price discrimination here, in theory, we have three different types of price discrimination. Okay. The first one is first degree price discrimination. The second one is second degree price discrimination. And the third one is third degree price discrimination. Now, let's look at the first degree price discrimination. What does it mean by the first degree price discrimination? It is an ideal situation in which if I'm the monopoly firm or the imperfect firm, okay, I can charge every single consumer in the market different price level because I know how much they are willing to pay. I mean the highest price they are willing to pay. Okay, is it logic? Is it possible for you as the CEO of a firm that's selling, let's say, a certain good to know every single person in your industry? Of course, it's not logic, isn't it? However, let's look at this very ideal, model first. Then we move to another different model, which is more realistic in reality. Okay, and we want to look at the first degree price discrimination first, yeah. Then we need to understand the concept of reservation price. Now, what does it mean by reservation price? It is actually the maximum price that a customer is willing to pay for a good. Okay, so that's reservation price. Okay, so when we talk about first degree price discrimination and we try to relate it with reservation price, what does it mean? You as a firm, you can charge every single consumer or customer his or her reservation price. What makes it possible for you to charge that way? Probably you have perfect information in the market. You have SPY, for instance, yeah? So in this case, can we explain it in the form of graph? Obviously, yes. Okay. Now, let's look at this frame of diagram, graph 2. So price is on the vertical axis as usual. Quantity is on the horizontal axis. Now, the demand curve is as usual, downsloping. Demand is actually equivalent to AR. Okay. Below the demand curve, if we talk about the usual case of monopoly, it should be, below the demand curve. So this is MR, yeah. Now, before we talk about the first degree price discrimination, I want to show you the single price charged by monopoly. And of course, you know what it is. Okay, so in order to do this, we need to have MC. Okay, so single price. Okay, profit maximizing condition is what? MR equal to MC as usual, isn't it? Where it is here at point small letter a. If you drag down the line, then you can have quantity, call it Q star. Where is the price? Price is here, P star. However, you can only capture this much of consumer surplus, the small triangle, yeah? What if you want to capture all consumer surplus available, yeah? But up to what point? Okay, you want to make sure that you can charge every single person in the market different price level and charge equivalent to their reservation price. So that, let's say, if a person is here, he is willing to pay this much. Okay, so let's say PA and then QA here, I don't want to miss the graph. But he's not willing to pay at P star, isn't it? You can see that the consumer surplus is bigger than when the price is at P star. Okay, but if you charge a single price at P star, you cannot capture, PA percent consumer surplus. How do you do that? Then you charge PA different price. You charge other people P star. But when we talk about first degree price discrimination, it's not only PA for a person. For every single person, let's say the first person, the reservation price is here. So you charge at P1. For the second person, the reservation price is here, just underneath P1, P2. Every single person, you charge different price level. No one has the same price level as the other one. Okay. Now, as a consequence, for P1, you charge, okay, you receive P1, isn't it? And then the additional revenue is MR1 equal to P1. For the second person, okay, you charge P2. So the additional revenue you get is MR2, which is equivalent to P2, not equivalent to P1. Why? Because for the second person, you don't charge P1, you charge P2. For the third person, MR3. Can you see? Okay, the additional revenue. So in this case, the marginal revenue, which is below the demand curve, is not applicable for first degree price discrimination, the perfect price discrimination. Okay, so the new marginal revenue should be equivalent to demand curve. Okay, so demand curve now is equivalent to MR for first degree price discrimination and perfect price discrimination. In particular, perfect price discrimination. Yeah. So in this case, until what point you charge? Because you cannot charge until, price is somewhere here. Okay. You will charge following profit maximizing rule. Profit maximizing rule is MR equal to MC. Where is MR? MR is now for perfect price discrimination is demand curve. Where's MC? MC is this one. So if this, if I use blue pen, if this is MR, then it hits MC here, isn't it? Let's call it point B. So the last price is here. Okay, P double star. The last quantity is here to the last person, Q double star. Can you see? All right. Now, this is why it is called perfect price discrimination, because every single person you manage to charge different price according to their reservation price. Okay. Now, so what's the total profit? The question is, what's the total profit in this case? Okay. Can you figure it out? All right. Now, in reality, it's impossible to charge every single person their reservation price because you are not spy all the time. Yeah, you cannot request somebody to keep on spying every consumer in the market. It breached the privacy. Okay. Now, in practice, okay, then maybe we can also have what we call imperfect price discrimination, but still under the first degree price discrimination. Yeah, this is in practice. Okay, can we show it in the form of graph? Now, this is graph 3. I want to explain to you the perfect price discrimination, but the imperfect one, because we know that it is almost impossible to do to charge different price different person, every single person. Okay, now, so price is here, quantity is here. This is demand curve equivalent to AR. This is marginal revenue curve. MC looks like this. If it is just single price, so profit maximizing condition is MC equal to MR. When I say single price, everybody receive the same price. They are charged the same price. You are not making discrimination at all. Okay, so where is the price? As usual, here's the demand curve, which is here and here. So P star, okay, and quantity is here, Q star. But if you want to try to charge different person different price, then perhaps you have the first person here, because his reservation price is here, P1, Q1. Next person is here, P2, Q2. Next person below the market price, P3, Q3, and so on and so forth, until the last one here. Okay, now, so this is imperfect price discrimination. You cannot charge every single point. But if you can get more information, almost all you can charge differently. That is imperfect price discrimination, the first degree price discrimination. Now we move to the second degree price discrimination. So what does it mean by the second degree price discrimination? It is actually a practice of charging different prices per unit, okay, for different quantities of the same good or service. Okay, it is also known as block pricing because you charge it by block of usage. Okay, now we can explain this in the form of graph. Let's draw the graph first. Okay, so in graph 4 here, as usual, on the vertical axis is price. Okay, so here price, and on the horizontal axis is Q. Okay, so a demand curve as usual down sloping, and you have the marginal revenue curve. Now look at the way I draw AC curve here. Okay, so this is AC curve, and look at the way I draw MC curve. Okay, so if I continue further, then it looks like this. So this is MC curve. Can you see what happens to AC and MC? In the region where it is possible to produce from 0 to up to here, yeah, demand curve, you can see MC is below AC. When MC is below AC, what can you say about AC? AC is declining, isn't it? When AC is declining, what does it mean here? In this industry, we have what we call economies of scale. Okay, when you double your input or factor of production, output can increase by more than double. So that's why it is called economies of scale. Now, if we look at this, if the monopoly firm or any kind of imperfect, firm in the imperfect industry wants to maximize profit, charging single price without any price discrimination, then it has to be MC equal to MR at this point, isn't it? So it is here, quantity, we call it QM. You drag up the line, so the price is here, PM. But there is a certain industry in which you can charge different block of usage, different price per unit. Okay, usually, for instance, I give you example. Okay, if you just consume less than certain kilogram or certain kilogram, for instance, of rice, for instance, then your payment per kilo may be 5 ringgit per kilo. But if you purchase more than 5 kilo, let's say between 5 kilo to 10, then the price reduced to let's say 5.75. And then if we purchase even more than 10 kilo, perhaps it goes to 4 ringgit per kilo. That is just an example, but this is not related to this drawing, because in this drawing you can see this industry is having economies of scale. Now, for monopoly, what kind of industry that has economies of scale? One good example is electricity, okay, because it needs mass production. So when you produce in a large amount of kilowatt, then you can see the cost is reducing here. That's why MC is below the AC, and you can achieve economies of scale. So recall back the principle of micro that you have learned previously, to understand more about economies of scale. Now, let's go back to the second degree price discrimination. We want to charge different prices per unit for different quantities of the same good, which is electricity. Okay, so let's say the first block, if consumer consume between 0 and let's say here, then you charge very high for this group of consumer. So let's say P1. So this one is what we call first block. Okay, but then if you consume, some group of consumer consume between here, then the price charge is, let's say, P2. Then this one is second block. If you consume between this and this, okay, so let's say this one is Q1, Q2, and Q3. Between Q2 and Q3, sorry, not Q2, because that one is QM. Let me erase it. Okay, so Q2 should be here. Okay, between Q2 and Q3, then we call it third block. Okay, you consume even more, isn't it? Then you pay per unit even cheaper. So one good example is electricity or gas, because in Western country, for instance, you know that they have 4 seasons, and 4 seasons are autumn, winter, spring, and summer. And we could understand that during summer, gas and electricity are less in terms of usage because they don't need heater. But during winter, they need heater. So gas and electricity consumption is very, very huge in terms of amount. So it might be a burden to the household when it comes to paying utility bills, isn't it? So that's why, to some extent, price discrimination is actually benefiting consumer. So if you consume more, you may receive price per unit lower, let's say at P3. So to some extent, the price discrimination can also give some advantages to consumer. Okay. Now, so this is second degree price discrimination. Now we want to move to the third degree price discrimination. Now, what does it mean by the third degree price discrimination? It is a practice of dividing consumers into 2 or more groups with a separate demand curves and charging different prices to each group. Now, we are creating consumer group not because of the amount that they consume, but because of their own characteristics. For instance, you have the first group of consumer which are extremely rich. You have the second group of consumer which are, middle income and low income group. Okay, so you may charge the first group, okay, higher price, but you may charge the second group lower price based on their income. Okay, one good example is like, for instance, airline tickets. You have business class, you have economic class, isn't it? For rich people or for business people, they can use business class. Of course, very expensive, but with certain services that is given extra in terms of amount compared to economic class. Okay. Now, how to create consumer groups? Okay. If this kind of discrimination is feasible, how should the firm decide what price to charge each group of consumers? Yeah, all right. There are two steps that you need to follow. Okay, regardless how much you want to produce. Yeah, total output that you want to produce, total output should be divided between the groups of customers so that marginal revenue in each group are the same. Why it has to be the same? For instance, if you have first group and the second group of consumer, rich and poor. Okay, first group is rich, second group is poor. If you charge differently, poor is cheaper and the first group, is more expensive. But if you found that because it's too expensive, even the rich group, they don't want to buy, then marginal revenue is less, isn't it? So if marginal revenue is not the same for both of them, what's the point of charging different price to different groups? May as well you charge single price, isn't it? Okay, so if you have two groups, for instance, or even if you have three groups, you must have marginal revenue for first group equals to marginal revenue for second group equals to whatever number of group you want to have until marginal revenue of n group. Okay, now the next thing is, in order to maximize profit, okay, always condition is what? Maximizing profit. MR should be equal to MC, isn't it? So that means, let's say we have only two groups, then we have MR1 equals to MR2, isn't it? Following the first step here, okay? But both of them must be equal to marginal cost because we want to maximize profit. We do business, we are not doing welfare here, okay? So these are the two conditions that we must have. Now, there are two ways to explain this in detail, The first way is using mathematics, the second way is using graph, but most of the time when it comes to exercises, you have to do the mathematical parts. Okay, I give you this equation here. Okay, now in expression 1 or equation 1, you have profit equivalent to P1 times Q1, revenue from group 1, consumer group 1, plus P2 times Q2, revenue from selling to group 2, and minus total cost. Now, if you see QT here, it refers to what? Q1 plus Q2. Quantity sold to group 1 plus quantity sold to group 2. Now, so the profit comes from the both of the groups, selling from both of the group minus the total cost. Now, how to maximize profit when we want to charge different price here? Okay, we need to do it one by one. We have two steps. Now, we need to find the profit, maximize profit with respect to Q1 for group 1. Okay, so what you can do here is that you differentiate total revenue that you get from group 1 with respect to Q1. For group 2, it is 0, isn't it? Minus total cost with respect to Q1. Remember, QT consists of Q1 and Q2. That's why you can differentiate it with respect to Q1. Now, to maximize profit, what should you do? This is first order condition when you equate it to 0. That means marginal revenue for firm 1 is this, isn't it? This one is marginal cost, isn't it? Then must be equal. Okay. Now, this is for, it's not firm 1, it's for group consumer 1. Now, what about group, consumer 2? So you just need to change it to Q2. Differentiate profit function with respect to Q2. Differentiate total revenue function with respect to Q2. And then this one is, P1, Q1, isn't it? When you differentiate, becomes 0. Differentiate this with respect to Q2, then you get something like this also. Okay? And not only that, both of them must be equal. MC here must be equal to MC here. So what does it mean? MR1 equals to MR2 equals to MC. Then you can maximize profit. Now, this is what we call generic function. Why? Because this generic function, you don't see specific number. Okay, but in your exercise, you are given specific number. Here, I just teach you generic one. Okay, now, what about in the form of graph? Now, in the form of graph, we use graph 5 here, the frame of graph 5. Okay, so we have price on the vertical axis, we have quantity on the horizontal axis. Let's say we have two groups, group 1 and group 2 consumer. So we have demand 1, and then we have MR1. Okay, let me redraw again because it's not very straight though. Okay, so here we have demand 1, and then we have MR1. So at the same time, we also have another group, demand 2, and then, okay, MR2. And then I don't want to mess the graph here, so I don't draw the total demand, assuming that total demand somewhere here. But then, the marginal revenue total is, let's say, here. Okay, let's say here. Let's use different pen. Okay, let's say somewhere here. Okay, so MRT. And let's say marginal cost curve looks like this. Okay. Okay, marginal cost curve. So first, what we need to do is that marginal cost equal to MRT, which is here. Okay, and then we can have Q total. Okay, so what happens to group 1 and group 2? It has to follow the same level of MC here. So MR2 hits the dash line here, MR1 hits the dash line here. So now marginal revenue for both of them are equal because they are following this MC equal to MRT. How many quantity for for the first group? Q1. What's the price? Should be on the demand 1, which is here. Okay, so P1. What's the quantity for group 2? On MR2, Q2. What's the price that should be charged? Which is here. Can you see two different price now? P1 and P2. P1, Q1. P2, Q2. P1 is greater than P2, isn't it? Okay. Now, in this case, there is price discrimination because you are charging two different prices. Okay, and you know that QT equals to Q1 plus Q2. Q1 this much, okay, Q2 this much, then you add, you get QT here. Okay, so that's in the form of graph. And is it always possible to charge two different groups of consumer different price level? Is it always feasible? Okay, just imagine, yeah, if I draw you another graph here, this one. Just imagine if we have something like this, price here, quantity here, and then we have MC like this, and then the first group is here. Okay, demand MR, and then the second group is here. Okay, MRD1122. Okay, just imagine if let's say I'm just making up, yeah, AC is here. AC is here. Is it possible to charge two different groups two prices? For the first one here, MR equal to MC here, isn't it? So for the second one here, you see where is AC for the second one if I extend it? Oh my God. AC is even more than the demand curve. Demand is below AC. D2 is below AC. So is it worth it to do price discrimination? Not worth it, isn't it? So you not all the time price discrimination is feasible because you have to check your AC as well, whether you can cover the cost or not. Because if AC is above demand, that means what? Total cost is above total revenue. When total cost is above total revenue, that means you're making losses. Okay? There is another way to find the price between these two groups of consumers, yeah? And this is usually easier compared to the previous one in the eyes of managers, because managers may find it easier to think in terms of the relative prices that should be charged to each group of consumers. Okay, and this has something to do with price elasticity of demands for two different group of consumer or more than two different group of consumers. Okay, now if you can recall back, yeah, in the previous chapters, you know that when we try to find the rule of thumb, we found this: MR equals to price times 1 plus 1 over ED, or reciprocal of price elasticity of demand. So if let's say we have two groups of consumers, group 1 and group 2, yeah, for group 1, okay, so we have MR1 equals to P1 in bracket 1 plus reciprocal of ED1, isn't it? Now for group 2, so we have MR2 equals to P2 1 plus 1 over ED2, or reciprocal of price elasticity of demand. Okay, so we want to find the relative prices so that we know, relatively speaking, should we charge group number 2 double price of group number 1 price, for instance, yeah? So here, when you try to do it, you have, let's say, do the cross multiply, and then you get something like this: P1 over P2 equals to what? So 1 plus 1 over ED2 over 1 plus 1 over ED1, isn't it? So this is the relative price that is usually used by managers, okay, to find if I have group number 1 and group number 2, how much should I charge group number 1? Should it be lower by half than the price that I will charge to group number 2, or the other way around, or what? Yeah, so this is, another easier way in the business, rather than going through all the, derivation of mathematics. Now, we move to the next one, the intertemporal price discrimination and also peak load pricing. Now let's look at the intertemporal price discrimination. Now if you look at the word intertemporal here, temporal, it deals with a period of time, yeah? Okay, let's say today and tomorrow, okay? Today different, tomorrow different in terms of everything. So let's look at this in terms of, market or industry. So what does it mean by intertemporal price discrimination? You are separating consumer that has, they have different demand function into different groups by charging them different prices at different point in time. So maybe today you charge the first group this price, Tomorrow, different group, you charge different price. Okay, that's what it means. So can we explain it in the form of graph? Yes, we can explain it in the form of graph. So let's say for simplicity, okay, let's look at the graph 7 here. Okay, we use graph 7 to explain it. So I have P here, we have quantity here. Let's assume for simplicity, our MC curve is just constant. When it is constant, therefore it's just horizontal line. Let's say we have two different group of consumer, okay, based on two different point of time. The first group of consumer looks like this in terms of demand curve. Okay, let me redraw it again. Okay, so here, okay, D1, and then the associated MR is this one. The second group of consumer looks like this, D2 and MR2. What's the difference between the first group and the second group? The first group is less elastic because the demand curve is very steep, isn't it? Less elastic means what? They are not, really affected by the change in price. You change whatever level of price, I still want to buy, for instance. Okay? But for the second group, it is very elastic. If you charge high, I don't want to buy. If you charge lower, I rush to you and buy to you. So this is demand 2. Okay. For the first group, you want to maximize profit, MR1 equal to MC, which is here, isn't it? So drag down the line, Q1, you sell Q1 to these people, and then the price is here, P1. Group number 2, MR2 equal to MC here, Q2, and then price is here, P2. So obviously P1 is more than P2. For group number 1, in terms of time, okay, they can't wait basically. So if you charge high, they don't mind to buy it now. For group number 2, they can wait. They are very elastic. They can wait for the time. Okay, I can buy later once the price drops. Okay, so this is group number 2, D2. Okay, what's a good example for this? Yeah, if you can understand the nature of selling iPhone by Apple. Okay, let's I give you real example in reality that really happened in IIUM. If you could recall back iPhone 6, okay, it was first released in the US and also UK. Later, 6 months later, then only being released in Malaysia. But after it being released in Malaysia 6 months later, of course the price reduced significantly by £100. That's why people prefer to go to Malaysia to buy iPhone if they can wait. So there was a student in IIUM. He was quite rich, yeah, and then he couldn't wait. So he couldn't wait for that 6 months. So he bought iPhone in Malaysia, and that iPhone is in the US. Okay. Usually, if you can recall, back iPhone 6, when it was first released in Malaysia, it was around 2,000 ringgit, not pound, yeah. But the difference is like 100 pound basically, yeah. This is real, okay. Was 2,000 ringgit something, okay, for the cheapest one, iPhone 6. But then, because he couldn't wait, so he bought the one from the USA when it was first released in the US. So because he bought it in Malaysia, so he has to pay higher. How much was the cost? Okay, 6,000 ringgit. Now 6,000 ringgit is P1 because he couldn't wait. And then for ordinary people, this is the price P2. Can you see the difference? This is intertemporal price discrimination. So what does it mean? Apple knows that there are some people who behave like this student. They can't wait. So using this characteristic of consumer, Apple can discriminate based on time. Okay. So if you cannot wait, you can buy our iPhone in different market, in different region, but of course at a higher price level. But if you can wait, then you get it later, 6 months later, but you pay cheaper price. You see, the discrimination is done, or between two periods of time. Okay, so that's intertemporal price discrimination. Now, what about peak load pricing? Now, when it comes to peak load pricing here, okay, peak load pricing is usually, done by the firm, okay, during peak periods when capacity constraints cause marginal cost to be high, okay. You may see in the reality, demands for some goods and services increase sharply during particular times of the day or year. I give you one example. During school holiday, the demand for, let's say, theme parks such as Genting Highland is very high. Okay, so many people will come to Genting Highland, or let's say to Legoland. All right, and because of many people, then of course the marginal cost will be higher during these peak periods. Why? Because when there are many people, then usually the management of the theme park will need to hire more workers so that they can take care of the cleanliness of the theme park. All right, so they have to hire more cleaners. Also, they have to hire more tour guide and whatnot. All right, now, so that's why the ticket is more expensive. But when it is week during normal time, when it is not school holiday, the price is just normal, for instance. Okay, unless if you go during school holiday, you get some discount because you collect some coupons. That one is different things. Okay, another good example is cinema. During weekdays, they have cheaper price, but during weekend, they will never discount the price unless if you can get the coupon. Okay, now, can we explain this in the form of graph? Yes, we use graph 8 here. So let's say price is here, okay, quantity is here, okay, and then I'll show you the marginal cost, which is increasing. Okay, so this is the marginal cost. During normal time, let's say it is here, okay, so D1 MR1, MR1 equals to MC P1 Q1. But during school holiday, so you have D2, okay, MR2, MR2 equal to MC, price will be higher, P2, Q2. All right. So it is more efficient if you can charge higher price because you need to follow the profit maximizing rule, given that the marginal cost has risen when it is peak periods. Next, we move to the two-part tariff. Have you heard the two-part tariff? It is actually a form of pricing in which consumers are charged both an entry and also a usage fee. And is there an example in reality? Of course, there are a lot of examples, but the most, easiest example that I can show you is when we have a club, for instance, Selangor Club, okay, or for instance, Perdana League Club. So, if you become a member of a Perdana League Club, then in order to be a member, you have to pay what we call entrance fee. Okay. Now, entry fees or entrance fee here is basically membership fee. And usually for any kind of club, the membership fee is very, very expensive or extremely expensive. How it happens? But then once you become member, when you want to utilize all kind of benefits in the club, the price per unit usage is very, very cheap. For instance, once you become member of Perdana League Club, then when it comes to buffet, you go to the restaurant in the club at the Perdana League, and then the cost is like 1/3 of the original cost itself. For instance, buffet may only cost you about 20 ringgit instead of, let's say, 100 ringgit. Okay, so can we explain this in the form of theory? Yes, we can. We have different types of model. The first one is single consumer. The second one is two consumers. And the third one is with many consumers. So let's look at the simplest one here, which is the single consumer. So we can explain this in the form of graph, yeah. So here we have price per unit, pound sterling, and we have quantity here. We know that if we have one single consumer, when we talk about demand, regardless whether it is many or only one, the demand is always downsloping. So I'll show you the demand here. Okay, demand is always on downsloping. Now let's say cost per unit usage or cost per buffet per pack is equivalent to marginal cost. Okay, and it is the same all the time. So it means the marginal cost is constant. Okay, so and this club, when they charge the buffet, they charge it equals to marginal cost. So the price per buffet per pack or per person is here, P star. So you can see P star is equivalent to MC, isn't it? So they only earn normal profit. Okay, that is for every buffet consumer consume or the member consume. But what about the entrance fee? How much is the entrance fee? Okay, the entrance fee is usually the area under the demand curve up to the price of usage fee. Okay, so here the price of usage fee is P star, the quantity consumed is here, let's say Q star. Therefore, okay, the entry fee is basically this triangle, isn't it? So this is T star. Can you see if the entry fee is this T star, which is this triangle area, if you calculate it, it is very huge, yeah, in terms of payment. So you can see the membership fee is extremely expensive. For instance, yeah, the Diamond League Club, for instance, long time ago, because I have one friend who is a member of this league club, the entry fee or the membership fee was about 10,000 ringgit. But then once you're there and you bring your membership card and then you want to have buffet there, per person was only 19 ringgit. Can you see? But if you're not a member, you may need to pay around 100 ringgit per buffet per pack. Okay, so in this case, the management of the Perdana League Club can charge very low usage fee, but how do they make profit? They charge very, very high for the membership fee, isn't it? So that's why you can see they capture the whole consumer surplus of each member by charging entry fee T star equivalent to the consumer surplus. Okay, so this is example of single consumer. Now, what if we have two consumers? Two consumers, consumer A, consumer B, do you think that they have the same type of demand? I mean the same demand curve? Even I and you, we have different demand curve for the same product. So you might assume that, they are not the same. So we can explain this in the form of graph, yeah? Okay, so here, price is here per unit, quantity is here. Let's say the first consumer, we call it consumer 1. The demand looks like this. Okay, and the second consumer, the demand is lesser and it looks like this, D2. And the marginal cost of every, let's say, buffet is constant, let's say this. Okay, so this is the marginal cost. Let's assume that this, club wants to charge, per buffet higher than the marginal cost. Let's say somewhere here. Okay, so I call it P star. And let me draw it nicely here because it's not very straight. Okay, so here. All right. Now, the usage fee is at P star. For consumer 1, where is the quantity consumed? P star and D1, isn't it? Which is here. Okay, Q1. Where is the amount consumed by consumer 2? P star intersect with D2, which is here. Okay, Q2. All right. So, but the question is, what is the entry fee or T star? You have two different types of consumer. You have options here. If you charge this bigger triangle, then only consumer 1 can get it. Okay, because consumer 2 cannot afford. Because consumer surplus for consumer 2 is this. Okay, so as a consequence, this is the T star equals to the surplus of the consumer with the smaller demand, not the biggest demand. Because if you choose the biggest demand, then the other consumer won't be able to be a member. Okay. Now, how to calculate the profit? T star is charged for all of them. So we have all of them equivalent to 2 consumer. So the profit from entry fee is 2 times T star, isn't it? Okay. What about the profit from selling buffet, for instance? The profit from selling buffet is, you can see price is above MC. So P star minus MC times quantity consumed by consumer 1, which is Q1, isn't it? Plus P star minus MC times quantity consumed for consumer 2, which is Q2. And then total profit is this plus this plus this. Okay. These two you can, factorize it. It becomes P star minus MC Q1 plus Q2 in bracket. And then you have 2 plus T star. And then this one is what we call total profit. Okay, so note that this total profit is actually, larger than twice the area of what? Twice the area of entrance fee. So 2 T star is smaller than the total profit that we have here. Okay, so that's for to consumer. But in reality, we have many consumers. What if we want to replicate this for many consumers? Is it possible? For many consumers, okay, you know that the total profit is the sum of the profit from the entry fee, call it PA in Greek letter, yeah, PA, and the profit from sales, okay, sales of buffet, PS. So this is the total profit. Okay. But then, okay, profit from entry fee, which is PA, depends on T, entrance fee, isn't it? All right. And profit from sales depends on entry fee also. Okay. Now, logically speaking, when you talk about this, the question is, what is the entry fee? The best one. What's the price we want to have? To charge every single person their usage fee. So here, because we have many consumers, we need to do what we call trials and error. Okay, now, can we put this in the form of graph? Yes. So we have pound sterling here, we have quantity here. Logically speaking, it's not quantity, yeah, it is actually the entrance fee. Our issue here is to decide what is the optimal or the best entry fee so that we can maximize profit. So let's say on the horizontal axis, it's about the entry fee. So we need to find the best entry fee, which is, we call it T star, that can maximize total profit, okay, minimize loss, isn't it? So logically speaking, when we talk about PA, which is entry fee, if you charge more in terms of entry fee, do you think that you can get more profit? No, isn't it? Why? The higher is the entry fee or the membership fee, the less likely people come and register to be member, isn't it? Okay, so as a consequence, the profit from entry fees declines as we increase the entry fee, isn't it? What about the profit of selling a buffet, for instance, profit from sales or usage fee? Okay, so initially, no sales, nothing. Okay, as we increase entry fee, okay, initial entry fee here, let's say somewhere here, okay, as we increase entry fee, at the same time, the entry fee is not that high, then the membership will be more, isn't it? More membership, more they will eat buffet, take buffet, more, profit you can get from buffet. But after some time, if you increase the entry fee, less membership, less sales, isn't it? Less sales, profit from sales decline, isn't it? Okay, let me draw it properly here because this one is not very smooth. Okay, so this is PS. Right, so in that case, what happens to total profit then? So total profit should start here, yeah? Okay, because entry fee start here, the profit from entry fee. And then, of course, increase and then declines because of what? Because of the existence of entry fees and also profit from sales. So here, what's the best or optimal level of entry fees here? It is the one that gives you maximum profit here, isn't it? So entry fee should be here, okay? But then in the form of graph, it looks easy. But what if in the form of reality? So like I said earlier, all right, T star is the profit maximizing entry fee, okay, for given P. So in order to find T star here, what should we do? Okay, so we need to find P. You pick any P, okay, we pick any P, any price of usage fee, and then with that P, find the optimal level of T, and then you calculate the profit. Okay, that's for the first P. Find another price of P, find the new optimum T with that new price, and then recalculate again the profit. You do this again and again until you get new profit level and satisfying profit level, which give you the maximum possible. Okay, so that's why P is then changed and the corresponding T is recalculated along with the new profit until you get the maximum profit. Yeah, so this is the trial and error for two-part tariff. Next, we want to move to bundling. What is bundling? Bundling is a practice of selling two or more products as a package. But why bundling exists in the market? Okay, so usually a company can use customer heterogeneity to its advantage. What kind of customer heterogeneity? If we have two different types of products, yeah, in this case film, producing two different types of, a film company produces two different types of films, Gone with the Wind and Getting Dirty Garters. These two are old movies, okay? Now, the one that is bloopers is actually Getting Dirty Garters, okay? The one which was box office is Gone with the Wind, okay? Now, if the film company wants to sell these two films to theater will look at which one will give more audience, isn't it? Now, but for the film company, Gone with the Wind will give more audience because it is a box office. But Getting Gators won't be sold, isn't it? So how can this film company make sure that both, films are sold to both theater, for instance? Okay, if this company sell these two films separately, then of course Gone with the Wind will be purchased by theater A and theater B. Don't look at the price, but look at which one will give you more audience. Okay, because like I said, Gone with the Wind is the box office one, but Getting Gertie's Carter is a blooper. Okay, so here, if the films are rented separately, okay, the maximum price that could be charged for Wind is 10,000. Why? because 12,000 is too expensive, then theater B won't purchase it. Okay. If you look at getting Getty gutters, the maximum would be 3,000, isn't it? We are talking about, renting separately or selling separately. But suppose the films are bundled. Okay. Theater A values the pairs of films. You see here 12,000 plus 3,000. It becomes 15,000, isn't it? And Theater B values both of the win, 10,000 plus 4,000. It becomes 14,000. So the value of pair 15 and 14, 14 is cheaper. If you're the film company, if you want to bundle it, which price will you choose? Is it 15 or is it 14? For sure you choose 14. What's the reason? Because 14 allows B to purchase and A to purchase. If you sell at 15, the bundling price, then B cannot purchase. Okay? So we can charge each theater 14,000 for the pair of films. So we have 2 theaters, so the total revenue is 28,000 because 14,000 multiplied by 2. Okay? Now, let's look at the relative valuation here, reservation price. So we put it in the form of graph. Let's say reservation price for product 1 is here, reservation price for product 2 is here. Recall back, what does it mean by reservation price? It is the maximum price that the consumer is willing to pay. Okay? Let's say we have 3 consumer A, consumer B, consumer C. Consumer A, let's say it's here. Consumer A, the highest that consumer A can pay for good 2 is, let's say, £6 or 6 quid. The highest that consumer A can pay for good 1 is £3.25. Let's say we have consumer B. Consumer B is here. The highest consumer B can pay for good 2 is 325. And the highest that consumer B can pay for good 1 is, let's say, 8.25. Okay. What about consumer C? Consumer C can pay the highest 10 for good 2. Also can pay the highest 10 for good 1. Now, if you're the seller, who do you think will purchase your bundle if you sell in the form of bundle? Do you think A will purchase, B will purchase, C will purchase, or none of them, or only 2, or on all of them? You look at consumer A. Consumer A, you can see he wants good 2, isn't it? Because he is willing to pay higher for good 2. But he's not willing to pay, higher than 3.25 for good 1, isn't it? That means if you sell both goods, good 1 and good 2, if you sell it both of them separately, then person A, consumer A, will only purchase good 2. Okay? By looking at his willingness to pay the highest price. On the other hand, if you look at good person B is willing to pay higher for good 1 compared to good 2, isn't it? So if you sell separately, person B will purchase good 1, isn't it? What about person C? Person C is willing to purchase high value for both good 10 and 10. So logically speaking, you can see here, bundle can happen if one good is not very demanded and another good is highly demanded by consumer. In this case, A and B, isn't it? Why? Because A really wants good 2 but really doesn't want to have good 1. Person B really want to have good 1 but he doesn't really want to have good 2. He's not willing to pay higher than £3.25 for good 2. Okay, so that's why bundling can happen for, you can sell bundle for good A and good B. Person A and person B, or consumer A and consumer B. What happens to person C? If you sell bundle, when person C is willing to pay higher for both good, do you think it's, worth enough to sell, at bundling price? Of course, no. Okay, so that's how you look at it. So here you can see For person A, consumer A, good 2 is highly valued, good 1 is less valued. You have negative relationship between, the way of reservation price being put by person A. Same goes to person B, isn't it? Negative, relationship between the prices of two goods in terms of reservation price. But good C has positive. Okay. Now, so that means if we sell separately, okay, how can we see the consumer decision? Okay, reservation price for good 2 here, reservation price for good 1 here. So we can see this quadrant can be divided into 4 different types of, segment. The first, the second, the third, and the fourth. C was somewhere here, isn't it? Okay, A was somewhere here, B was somewhere here. If you see here, okay, reservation price for good 2 is very low. Reservation price for good 1 is also very low. What do you think to happens to this consumer? Would it buy both good? Neither product will be purchased by this consumer, isn't it? But if it is here, both product will purchased by this consumer, isn't it? What about here? Reservation price for good 2 is higher. Reservation price of good 1 is very low. Okay, so here consumer will purchase good 2 only, not good 1. Here consumer will purchase good 1 only, not good 2. Can you see? All right. Now, what if we have bundle? If we have bundle, then let's say this one is R2, this one is R1. Okay. So you can see that from here, segment 2 purchase 1 good. Segment 4 purchase only 1 good if you sold separately. But if you sell bundle, then you can also sell the other good which are not highly demanded by each of the consumer, isn't it? So that means it has to be negatively correlated between reservation price 1 and also reservation price 2. So as a consequence, okay, we have PB here maximum, PB here maximum. Now this one is R2, reservation price for good 2, equals to bundling price minus reservation price for good 1. Alright, so that here we have negatively correlated because person A, for instance, you may want to buy a good 1, but you don't want to buy good 2. Person B, for instance, you may want to buy good 2, but you don't want to buy good 1, isn't it? And the only way for you to make sure that good 1 is purchased by B is to sell bundle. Okay, so same goes to person A. Bundle can only, being purchased by these two person as long as what? Reservation price for good 1 plus reservation price for good 2 is more expensive than the price of bundle itself, or at least the same as the price of bundle itself. Otherwise, purchasing bundle is not worth it because you expect cheaper when the price is bundle, isn't it? Okay, now, so here what we can see is that it has to be negatively correlated between the two reservation price, and as long as R1 plus R2 is greater or equal to PB, then bundle can happen. Now, another thing that we need to look here is that, let's say this one is A, this one is B. Okay, reservation price good 2, reservation price good 1. Same here, 2, 1. Okay, if you see this kind of relationship between reservation price of good 2 and good 1, what does it mean here? It has perfectly positively correlated between reservation price of these two goods. It's like person C, remember? In this case, is it worth it to charge to have price bundling here? It's not worth it because person C is willing to purchase both goods, even if the price is so high. You get what I mean? So if you charge bundle which is cheaper than the reservation price here, because both are purchased, then you're losing. But what about this? If it looks like that, then you know that Okay, the demand for the two goods are perfectly negatively correlated. Bundling is the best here, so that you can extract all consumer surplus. Okay, so that's the thing. PP, PP. And if you go back to the movie example of Getting Dirty Gutters and also Gone with the Wind, yeah, can you try to put them in the form of graph? You know that we have two theaters, yeah? Theater A, Theater B. So consumers who goes to Theater A, we call it consumer A. Consumers who go to Theater B, we call it consumer B. Okay? And then you have seen the price also. Can you try to plot all the two points for each two theaters? Reservation price of good B here, reservation price of good A here, and then you see whether they are negatively correlated or not, and then is it worth it to have price bundling here? Okay, you should try it yourself. Okay, is there any possibility for firm to sell separately for some consumers that have high reservation prices for both products, and also at the same time simultaneously sell bundling for those consumers who have negative correlation between their two reservation prices of two goods? Okay, so this is what we call as mixed bundling. It is selling two or more goods both as a package and individually. What did we have previously? In previous example, when we talk about bundling, it is basically pure bundling. Pure bundling is where you don't sell, two goods separately, but you just sell them in the form of bundling. So consumer, they have to buy in the form of bundling. They cannot buy separately. Now, so you want to look at this in the form of graph. Let's say reservation price of good 2 here, good 1 here. Okay, so let's say we have this negatively correlated, and then the price of bundling 100. Okay, we have 4 different consumers. Consumer A, okay, with highest reservation price for good 2, 90, but the lowest reservation price for good 1, which is 10. Okay, we also have person B, consumer B, which has 50 here, which has 50 here. Okay, and then we have person C, 40 here, and then we have 60 here, and then we have person D. Okay, 90 here and 10 here. Let's say marginal cost for producing good 1 is 20 and it is constant. So here, yeah, I just want to make a boundary. So C1, 20. Let's say the marginal cost of producing good 2 is 30. Okay, so it is here. Let's say this. Okay, C2, 30. So they are constant, 30 here. You can see that for consumer A, he has a reservation price for good 1, which is below, marginal cost of good 1, which is 20. Marginal cost of good 1 is 20, but reservation price for good 1 for consumer A is 10, which is below, below 20, isn't it? And if you look at consumer D, his reservation price for good 2 is 10, which is below 30. 30 is what marginal cost of producing good 2, isn't it? Now you can see that if that is the case, then person D won't purchase good 2. Person A won't purchase good 1, isn't it? Alright. And here, if you have mixed bundling, consumer A will only buy good 2, isn't it? Consumer D will only buy good 1. B and C will purchase, 2 goods. Okay, all right. So here, let's compare three different strategies. Yeah. Okay, we have three different strategies. A, selling the goods separately at price 1, for good 150, price good 2, 90. Okay, recall back the marginal cost of good 1 was what? 20. The marginal cost of good 2 was what? 30. Yeah. Okay. The second option is selling the goods only as a bundle at the price of 100. The last one is if we have mixed bundling. That is, if you sell goods separately, price 1 and price 2, 89.95. But if you sell it as a bundle, then price is 100. Okay. So if you sell separately here, who will purchase good 1? If you go back to this, okay, B, C, and D will purchase good 1 because their reservation price is very high, isn't it? 50, 60, 90. But consumer A, the reservation price for good 1 is very low, which is 10. He won't purchase good 1, okay? But he will purchase good 2, okay? So in this case, okay, what's the total profit for the firm? If we know that person B, C, and D buy 1, okay, A buys 2, okay, so profit will be equivalent to what? 3 people purchase good 1, okay, good 1 sold at 50 minus cost 20. Okay, why do we minus marginal cost? Because when marginal cost is constant, it's equivalent to average cost. So price minus average cost is profit per unit, isn't it? Profit per unit is times 3 becomes total profit, isn't it? But then we have another product here. One person buy good 2. Good 2 is 90 minus marginal cost 30, isn't it? Then you get what profit? Profit is 150, which is this. But if you sell pure bundling, okay, you sell it at 100, okay, all 4 people, A, B, C, D, will purchase bundle, okay. So here, what is the profit for bundle? 4 times 100, you sell the price at 100, minus total cost. Total cost is what for both product? 20 plus 30, isn't it? Total cost per unit, yeah? So 50 cost per unit. So when you calculate, the profit is 200. What about mixed bundling? Can you calculate? And can you get this answer? Alright. Now, if you compare 3 different strategies, sold separately, pure bundling and mixed bundling, remember the profit, I want you to find it yourself how to get it. Okay. You can see that selling mixed bundling give you the highest profit compared to having pure bundling or sold separately. By doing mixed bundling, then you can still sell your product to those who don't want to purchase 2 things at the same time, isn't it? So you give options. Good example of mixed bundling, if you go to McDonald's or KFC, if you buy a la carte for a Zinger burger, it means Zinger burger is sold separately. Let's say 9 ringgit, okay? But if you buy, the whole set, it may only cost you 11. I'm just making up. Can you see the difference? It's very small, isn't it? But sometimes you don't want the French fries, you don't want the drink, you just want the Zinger burger. So that's why you want to buy it separately, a la carte. But those who wants to have bundle, they find it cheaper if you buy French fries or potato wedges together with Zinger burger and also soft drinks in the form of bundle or in the form of set, which gives you only 11 rather than buying them separately. So mixed bundling can also help consumer and also increase the profit of producer. Okay. Now, here we have another example that is mixed bundling with zero marginal cost. In the previous example, we have marginal cost positive for both products. But now, what happens if marginal cost of both products are zero? Okay, we still use the same example. Try to calculate the profit here. What would happen? Okay, and then make the choice. Which one is better? I want you to try it at home. Yeah. Okay. Next, have you heard the term tying in business? Perhaps you haven't heard it before, but I'm sure you have, you have some experience with it, especially when you purchase certain things. Okay, and what is tying? Tying is the practice of requiring the customer to purchase one good in order to purchase another. That's why I said to you just now. Perhaps you have experienced it before. And why might firms use this kind of pricing practice? Okay, so one of the main benefits of it is that it often allows a firm to meet the demand or to, regulate demand and thereby practice price discrimination more effectively because you are tied actually. Yeah, once you purchase the product, one product from a firm, and then whenever you want to have replacement for a broken thing inside the product you want to you are using, okay, you have purchased, then you need to buy the same brand, for instance, okay, of the replacement, the spare part, okay. So this way, the firms can extend its market power, okay, because you are tied with its own brand, okay. And tying can have other uses as well. So another thing is to protect customer goodwill connected with a brand name. For instance, yeah, let's say Mercedes-Benz car. So when it comes to replacement of battery and whatnot, you have to purchase some batteries that can only be used by Mercedes car. Okay. Now this is why, in terms of franchising, franchises are often required to purchase inputs from the franchisor. Okay. Another example is like, automaker that, tied the purchase of a car to the requirement of buying specific brand of toolbox. Okay, not only to its own brand, but specific brand of toolbox because maybe they have some agreement between each other when they produce car. Okay, so that's about tying. Now, let's move to the last part here. It is advertising. Okay, advertising can also be used as a powerful tool to increase sales of the firm. Now, advertising basically is considered as a cost, yeah, and is a very expensive cost because in order for you to be on air on TV, you have to pay huge amount of cost. For instance, 1 million. Okay, so what's the effects of advertising to the firm's profit? Now, we want to explain it in the form of graph here. Let's say we have this graph. So the price per unit is here and a quantity of product is here. Now, let's draw the average revenue and also marginal revenue before advertisement. Okay, so we have this demand curve for average revenue. Then we have MR here. And let's say we have this MC, yeah? Okay. Now, and this is the AC. Okay. Now, MR equal to MC is at this intersection, call it point A. If you drag down the line, then you have QM here. You drag up the line, then you have this price, okay, PM. What's the profit? Profit is, this is AC at QM, so ACM. So the distance between PM and ACM is profit per unit, isn't it? Okay, so this rectangle is actually profit before advertising. Okay, now let's say advertising has incurred, so you involve certain costs, isn't it? And the cost of advertising, once you have it, you cannot, reduce it anymore because you pay it once. That's why it is considered as fixed cost and also sunk cost. Okay. Now, therefore, because it is not a variable cost, there is no change in MC. But what happens to AC? AC will increase because AC consists of average variable cost and also average fixed cost. And advertisement affects fixed costs, isn't it? So when fixed cost increases, average fixed cost also increases. Now, so average fixed cost may increase here. So let's say here, you see here. But at the same time, after advertisement, okay, consumers in the market becomes more influenced to your product. So the demand will increase, isn't it? So let's say demand increases to this. Let's say to D2. Therefore, the associated MR is here. Okay, let's say here. Okay, MR2. So profit maximizing as usual is MR equal to MC. This time, MR2 intersects MC. At this point, call it point B. Now, quantity is here. I call it QA. Where is the price at the new demand curve when quantity is at QM? And then this one, PA. The cost per unit is here, yeah? Okay, you look at AC curve here, the new AC curve, AC prime, when produced at QA. So this is ACA. Okay, you can see the total profit after advertisement is larger than the total profit before advertisement. I call this new triangle as profit A. You can see that PA is greater than PM, isn't it? So that's why firms do advertisement. Okay, in terms of mathematics, profits for advertisement looks like this. You can see that, okay, after advertisement, not only profit increases, but the quantity produced and sold increases. So QA is greater than QM, isn't it? Okay. Let's go back to the profit function in expression 3 here. Profit is a function of total revenue minus total cost. Now, if you look at total cost here, total cost is C and also A. A is advertisement cost. Cost as a function of Q is what? Variable cost. A is another fixed cost here, isn't it? Okay. Now, PQ is total revenue. As you can see, Q here is a function of price. Okay. Not only that, Q is a function of advertisement. Why? Because the more advertisement you make, the more quantity can you sell. You can see clearly here, QA is more than QM, isn't it? Now, the next question is, if profit depends on not only on price, but also on advertisement, what is the right amount of advertisement expenditure or advertising expenditure that this fund can have so that it can always maximize profit? All right. Can we do it mathematically? Yes, we can. Now, we rewrite again the profit function here, expression 3. How to maximize profit? Okay. Usually, when you want to maximize profit, as usual, you need to find first order condition. Now, first order condition here, you look at the objective. Okay. You want to maximize profit with respect to what? Remember, objective is to find the maximum profit and to find the right amount of advertising expenditure to maximize profit. The right amount of A. Okay. In the previous examples, before we learn advertisement, okay, we want to maximize profit and we want to find what is quantity that can maximize profit, which is Q. So that's why we did something like this. Delta P over delta Q, isn't it? But this time, we are not doing this. Why? Because our objective is not to find the optimal level of quantity that can maximize profit. Our current objective is to maximize profit and to find the right amount of advertising expenditure to maximize profit. Therefore, our first order condition should be like this. Delta P over delta A. Differentiate profit with respect to A because our objective now has changed. We still want to maximize profit, but the argument is A, not Q. Alright, you can see here this one is total revenue, which is price times Q. Okay, but Q here is a function of P and A. Okay, now price here times Q, because Q consists of A and P, all right, then we need to differentiate this total revenue function with respect to A, isn't it? But Q depends on A. That means total revenue function is not directly depends on A. Total revenue function depends on Q. Q depends on A. Price here is a constant, isn't it? Because we don't want to change the price. We just want to find the A here. Later, we can find price. Now, so in order to do this, price is a constant. You have Q. Differentiate Q with respect to A. Remember, you want to do A, isn't it? You want to find A, basically, yeah? Okay, now, next, here you have C minus. Differentiate C with respect to Q. Okay, and because Q consists of A, differentiate Q with respect to A. That's how you do it. Because C is not directly depends on A. C depends on Q, Q depends on A. But our objective is to maximize profit with respect to A. That's why we do this way. Okay, and then minus what? You differentiate profit with respect to A here. You have A here. Differentiate it, it becomes 1, isn't it? First order condition, you want to maximize profit. Then this marginal profit with respect to advertising expenditure should be equal to 0. Then you know that it's maximum. Okay, now let me use different pen. Okay, if you look at this, what is this? This is marginal revenue from advertising expenditure. If you look at this, these two, yeah, the first one is delta C over delta Q times delta Q over delta A minus 1. What is this? Okay, this is the marginal cost, the full marginal cost of advertising. Okay, now, if you look at the first bit here, have you seen this before? Of course, this one is marginal cost. Okay, what is this? This is a change in quantity due to advertising expenditure. Okay, this is the cost, marginal cost due to advertising expenditure. All right, and then you can rewrite it this way because this is 0. That means marginal revenue equals to marginal cost, isn't it? Marginal revenue minus full marginal cost of advertising equal to 0. That means marginal revenue equals to full marginal cost of advertising. This one is marginal revenue of advertising. This one is full marginal cost of advertising, which is this, isn't it? Okay, now here I use delta instead of triangle because I'm used to this when I did my maths. Okay, now this is the way economists maximize profit. And then from here you can find quantity. From here you can also find price after you get the optimal level of A star, advertising expenditure. When I teach you, I give you generic function only, but when you see the exercises, all of them are in the form of number. You should know how to do them. You should know, you should try to do them. Now, for managers, they want the rule of thumb. Why? Because going through all of this, derivation is tedious for them. Is there any way to find the rule of thumb so that they can easily find, A instead of going through all of these scratches? Yes. Now, we can have what we call a rule of thumb for advertising. Now, if you look back at expression 4 here, okay, let me erase the square. Okay, if you look back at expression 4 here, marginal revenue equals to marginal cost of full advertising, isn't it? Now, what you can do with this is, I want you to rearrange it until you get 5. Okay, and this one is not difficult. How to do it? You take this, you bring MC delta Q over delta A to the left. Okay, don't look at this because this is just equal to this. So we use this only instead of this. Okay, and then you factorize and then you get something like 5. You should try it at home. I'm not going to show you because this is just calculus, which you have learned in, high school. So simple calculus, I won't show you. Okay, now, once you have this, okay, remember our objective is to find a rule of thumb for advertising, okay? Because we want to find the rule of thumb for advertising, in the study of microeconomics, the rule of thumb usually is related to elasticity. So when it is always related to elasticity, managers will always play around with, price, quantity. Okay, price and quantity. And in this case, because of advertising expenditure also will be put. Okay, so that's why when it comes to mathematics, derivation of rule of thumbs of advertising, using mathematics, you must try to come up with the rule of thumb that relates with elasticity. This needs, years of experience in mathematics as well as in economic theory. Now, so what should we do? Now, multiply both sides of this equation by the ratio between advertising expenditure and also revenue. This is advertising expenditure, this is revenue. What's the purpose? Because we want to come up with the rule of thumb for advertising. We multiply by A over PQ because by multiplying both sides by A over PQ, we can come up with the rule of thumb for advertising that can be understood by manager by using information that they can get around them. What are those information? Once you calculate this, you can see initially we have this on the left hand side, isn't it? We have this, okay, and we have this, okay. When we multiply by A, you see A appears here, and over PQ, you see P here, Q appears here, isn't it? And on the right hand side, 1 multiplied by this, you get A over P times Q. So this is simple, yeah. Then they rearrange it like this so that you can see this and this on the left hand side and also this on the right hand side of equal sign. Now, let me erase this so it becomes, nicer. Let me use red pen. Have you seen this before? Okay, I'm sure you have seen this before. Okay, this is nothing else but the reciprocal of price elasticity of demand in the market, isn't it? What is this? If you know the rule of calculating elasticity, then you can see that this one is price elasticity of, elasticity of demand for advertising expenditure. How demand being affected by advertisements, okay? And then this is just a ratio of advertising expenditure to revenue. So when we rewrite it again, expression 6 can be something like this, okay? ADA over ED minus equals to A over PQ. For managers, this one is easy to get, this one is easy to get, this one is easy, this one yes, because as long as you have P and Q and A, then that's settled. So managers, they don't have to go through all the derivations of derivatives. They just look at this, okay, the rule of thumb for advertising. That can help them to find what's the right amount of A so that they can maximize profit. Now, this rule of thumb can be used to maximize profit. Why? Because it has been derived from the profit maximizing derivation here. All right. Now, so try to do all the exercises for these chapters, okay, related to whatever being taught in the lecture. The more you do it, the more you're confident with it, okay? So this is the end of chapter 11. Thank you very much.